and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coltrane Conservatory of the Arts talk show. We want to welcome those of you who were with us on last week and those of you who may be with us for the first time. We are a music school. We're located at the 6353 South Cottage Grove here in Chicago. And we teach in all the instruments, including saxophone, trumpet, piano, drums, baritone, guitar, and a number of other instruments. So if you're interested in getting your music career going, getting started with your music, give us a call here. Give us a call at this station right now. We have our production assistant, Mr. Lionel Don, who will be happy to take your calls. Our phone number is listed right there on the screen, 312-738-1060, or you may call our facility, which is 773-891-1875. Now, if you do call our facility and you don't get an answer, just leave a message for us. Leave your name, your phone number, and what you're interested in. I want to also let you know that we do, within this program, those of you who are viewing for the first time, we always deal with whatever current events and issues are occurring at the time that we do this. We believe that the arts must include economics, finance, and even politics, because you just can't get around. The arts is what separates us away from the lower animals. We become human by virtue of the fact that we participate in the arts. Right now, I'd like to put out a question here, though, for you. Some of you know of us and you've tuned in before. We'd like for you to give us a call here at the station and let us know what you feel about the things that we are talking about. Let us know if you have any questions regarding regarding what we're doing here in terms of our school. And just in general, give us a call. Let us know if you appreciate this program coming on. We've been on now for like 2 years, and we come on, and then we go away for like 6 months, and then we come, 3 months rather, then we come back again. So we're on every 12 weeks. We go off for 12 weeks and we come on for 12 weeks. And so many of you out there should have seen this show before. And we invite you to call in and give your impressions about what's going on. This is what we call an interactive program. So you want to feel free to pick up the phone and call right now if you have questions or something of that type. What we want to do is put out something to you regarding the latest issues that are going on with the country. As you know, we have a lot of things that are going on now with the DACA, the Dreamers rather, those people who were brought here for no fault of their own and who threaten, the president is threatening to send them back to where they came from. I'd like for you to give us a call and let us know if you think that's the thing that the president should do. In addition to that, we are saber-rattling, at least the president is saber-rattling with Kim Jong-un, and I would like to give you, I'd like for you to call us up and let us know if that's something that you can support, or do you think that all this stuff about who's got the biggest button, and that's basically saying who's got the biggest bomb. Let us know if this stuff is reckless, childish, and dangerous, you know. And you can give us a call and let us know, and I'm pretty sure that you have some opinions about what's going on in this country. You should have some opinions anyway, because from what I understand, Kim Jong-un has a bomb that can actually reach this country now. A lot of people believe that, you know. Not everybody is willing to say it here in this country, especially the president. But believe me when I tell you, I wouldn't take that chance. I wouldn't want to take that chance to say that he can't reach. And trust me when I tell you, I think most of you have read history and you know how devastating that those two bombs that were dropped on Japan were. And it seems to me as though we want only us to have these big bombs that can destroy the whole planet, and it's illegal for everybody else. But that doesn't make any sense to me. If you got a dangerous weapon, everybody else wants to get it because they feel that if I had it, then I could push you around a little bit rather than having you pushing me around all the time. I could tell you what to do and threaten you if you said no to me. And that's what a lot of that is going on in our country, where we are pushing other small countries around. I can't imagine that we would have attacked Iraq, and that country has been splintered, has been torn apart in just absolutely pieces. And it was a very prosperous and good, solid country before that happened. But right now, it is just absolutely devastated, and they're trying to build it back. And what is so criminal is many of those historical buildings that had all kinds of history going way back were bombed and torn apart. But I can imagine that George Bush and the rest of them, the politicians, would have been so eager to go into Iraq had those people had something to fight back with, you know. So this thing about nuclear weapons, what we need to do is we need to abolish them all. We need to get rid of these nuclear bombs because it's just no good. At some point, some idiot, and I just hope it's not our president or anybody else, is going to actually push one of those buttons, or as is, the reality is that human beings are the ones who start wars. These things aren't started by themselves. It's not like some little Tweety bird is going to whisper in our ear. Human beings get upset, and they get so upset until they say, let's start. I think I want to just destroy that whole country because I don't like the way things are going on. I don't like the way people are talking to me. I don't like the way they are saying no to me. I think we need to destroy. And that's the way it all starts, with a man or woman. It doesn't just start up by itself. And so we know we got these men and women who are threatening each other right now, especially in North Korea and here in America. Now, let's switch gears a little bit. Some people believe that Donald Trump is going bananas. Okay, now this isn't something I said. I heard this on CNN this week. Some people are questioning whether or not he still has it all, or whether he's playing with a full deck of cards. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist, nor am I a psychologist, but I do know when somebody is doing something crazy. And this talking about whose button is the biggest, and calling senators out of their names. I remember Senator Flake, who is from, I believe he's from Arizona. He was called, he nicknamed him Flaky. So he said, Senator Flaky. Now that's not a nice thing for a president to say about any human being, let alone a sitting senator, And then, of course, there have been so many other people that have been called names. I think the reference to Kim Jong-un as the little short rocket man, I think he called him a little fat, short rocket man, and that's just not nice for people. And this is how wars are started, believe it or not. I think people don't believe that people would start a war over that, but this is how this stuff gets going. And then lastly, I wanted to speak very briefly about, as we talk about this politics, that there's a man by the name of Christopher Steele, who is the individual who actually produced, at least presented this dossier to the FBI. Now, as most of you know, a dossier is simply a collection of documents regarding some event that has taken place. And in this case, the event was supposed to be the a meeting in which some people believe the president or the president people colluded in an effort to allow for the Russians to interfere in the presidential election on behalf of Donald Trump. Now, nobody knows if this is the truth. In fact, the president always says to us, listen, there's no collusion, there's no collusion, there is no collusion. Well, this is not definitive because the investigation is not over. So, of course, a better statement would be no collusion has been found as of yet. Now, that statement is true, but that there was no collusion, this is not an accurate statement to make at this time. Mr. Mullen, the special counsel, is still investigating this, and we don't know what he has. We don't know if, I believe it's Paul Manafort, who was the first person indicted, I believe, or maybe George Papadopoulos, or some of these people have sung a song. And this song may have implicated a number of people. For me, I believe that the special prosecutor is still questioning these people, and then after he's gotten all the information that he can get from them based on the deal that he cut with them, because when you cut a deal like that with the federal government, in this case, the special prosecutor, that means that you got to spill all the beans. You got to tell everything. And once you tell everything, now he has compiled all of this information. And you will then that is to say, the time he will go out and begin to bring people in to question them. And as he asks them questions, he's comparing his notes of things that these individuals who he's cut these deals with for less of a sentence, because they themselves have pleaded guilty in most cases, except for Manafort. I don't think he pleaded guilty, but it's pretty much the evidence is there. But once you start comparing these notes and then asking questions, if there are any untruths made, then that's when people can get in trouble. That's when they can get in big trouble, because under oath it is a crime to lie under oath. And so we'll see what happens, and I hope that people are able to survive. I hope that people have not colluded with the Russians or conspired, as the criminal statute is, with the Russians. I hope that individuals had the good sense, the intelligence to know that if I'm going to collude with somebody, it's not going to be the Russians. Man, the Russians have been a nemesis in this country, and we have been one for them for many, many years. Since I was growing up as a kid, I remember they used to talk about the Russians and how everything was behind the Iron Curtain and this, that, and the other. And I remember Khrushchev. And Khrushchev really reminds me a little bit of Donald Trump, to be honest. And I don't mean to be cruel, but he does remind me a little bit of him, because he would take I believe it was at the United Nations, and this was way back in the late 50s, I believe, maybe the early 60s or something. I was very young in those days. But he would take his shoe and beat it on this roster, you could call it, this speaking, you know what I'm talking about. Very similar to what anybody would be speaking on. and to make statements, to make very, very angry statements and things of that type. Now, our president hasn't done that, but he's done some very rude and unkind things, you know. And I want to just say that, you know, you folks out there who are Christians, especially you so-called evangelical conservatives, I don't think that anything I've ever read in the Bible has ever pointed to the type of behavior and the things that I'm hearing that are coming out of the White House. I don't think that, in fact, I know that if you were to talk about some of the things that go on in the church and some of the things that I hear in the White House, there's no parallel. There's no parallel at all. The language that I'm hearing about that's being spoken, this is most unprofessional, let alone amoral. Very unprofessional to speak in those terms like that in a professional environment, especially in the White House, you know. And I'm hearing something, and every time I'm reading an email that somebody has produced, there's so out of the White House. There's so much cursing and clowning in there, you know. I mean, I can make a strong statement anytime without using those types of expletives. I mean, it just needs to be cleaned up. And sometimes I wonder where we're going as a country when we allow somebody to do that in the White House, you know. And I can tell you this much. If Obama had carried on with this foolishness of this type, and I think we all know this, he would have been run out, not out of the White House, but out of the country. And he should have been run out of the country. But here, you know, this group of people have come together to make a man president, to elect a man president who they feel will support their issues, their philosophy on life. And it's really criminal that we have so many people in this country who think in this way. And what is so egregious at times, what's so outrageous, is that many of these people, honestly, are first and second generation people, maybe third at the most. They came here their grandparents came here during the turn of the last century, and they have no right to bring that type of stuff to this country. I mean, and I can say that because I'm sitting before you right now. My grandfather owned 1,000 acres of farmland in Birmingham, in Hurstboro, Alabama. I'm from Birmingham originally myself, which is really not the farming land, and it's a southern city. But he was from Hurstboro, which is where my father's from. And they owned 1,000 acres of farmland. And even before that, my great-grandmother was a school teacher here in this country. And so we've been, you know, working the land with our hands and doing things to make this country a better country for many, many generations. And most of our people have been doing that. And the reason I'm saying that is because, you know, when I used to hear my uncle and them talk about how they used to, during the Depression, they were laying these cross ties for the railroad, whatever they had to do, cutting trees down to keep going. And I remember saying that sometimes they had to take a freight train, you know, hitchhike on a train from one town to the other. But these are stories that these people that have come here a generation or two ago don't have. Because, I mean, you know, let's face it, you know. And they just don't have these stories because they were in you know, and I don't mean harm, but they were in Poland, they were in Ireland, they were in Sweden or somewhere else. You know, they have no real history in this country. And so for them to bring those, that evil and that hatred, you know, to this country, it just really dragging the country down. And if we wanted to put people out of this country, all those people like that should be exiled. You know, that's what I think about people. When I see people who are running around all caught up in hatred and whatnot, trying to help drive this country into the ground, I say to myself, what have you done to build this country up? You know, did your relatives fight in World War II? Did your relatives fight in the Civil War? I mean, you know, what have you done? No, we came over during the back during the turn of the last century. Well, okay then, you know, just be happy that you're here, you know. And most of these people, when they came here, this country was already, if it wasn't a great country, it was on its way to becoming a great country, you know. And so we want to make sure that we get that clear in people's mind. And some of you out there, I just wish next week, give us a call and tell us what you think about some of these conversations we're having. Once again, I'd like to invite you to give us a call at 773-891-1875. And if you're interested in playing an instrument, we have some very solid students. I mean, we have the best students around. And I don't care what school you may have gone to, there are no students in this city or anywhere around close to this city that can play better than our students. And we back that up with 2 recitals every year. We have one in July and one in December. We invite you to come out and sit and watch some of our students, some of them as young as 5 years old, others who are 12, 13, some have been with us for 2 or 3 years, and they can play. And you'll be able to play if you give us a call. Once again, 773-891-1875. I want to thank you for tuning in on today, and we'll see you on next week.